All right, we're here at my VermiHut indoor worm bin, and right now I have taken the basin off because what we're going to do is we are going to add a new inoculating tray. So this new tray we're adding is just full of shredded cardboard with a little bit of shredded paper in there, and I introduced my new trays right to the bottom. And this tray is just full of dry material. I don't need to wet it down at all because all of the juices from any of the foods that I put in this VermiHut are eventually going to make it all the way down through all these layers and into here, and they will wet it down. So this tray here will probably be on the system for about 60 days before it ever gets to the top and starts getting fed. So because of that, you will see that this portion right here will stay probably clean the whole time. I probably won't even get any castings or worms in here, and I certainly won't get any kind of leachate in here, because as I put inoculating trays on this that are dry, they absorb all the water. So let's put the 3 trays that have been on our VermiHut all this time and put them on top of this new inoculating tray. All right, so now we have a 4-tiered system. Let me go ahead and set back up, and then we'll start digging in and feeding. So now that our VermiHut is set up back to a 4-tray system, we are ready to get on with our feeding. Now, last time we were in here, we put in a couple of cardboard tubes. We put in some avocado, some broccoli, some strawberry tops, and a banana peel, and I want to see how those did. I don't know if that avocado in particular is even going to be penetrated, but let's go ahead and dig in. I think this right here is it, and something I'm seeing right on top is just a lot of dots, and I don't know if those are cocoons or if they're the seeds or some part of the avocado. They seem kind of hard, so I think they're something to do with the avocado, but it does not look like they penetrated at all. There's a couple worms just crawling around it, but nothing inside of it yet. So we'll set that to the side. But underneath it, oh my gosh, there is a lot of worms. In fact, there's like a little mini worm ball right there. So I don't know if they were getting some of the juices that might have been coming out of it, but I don't see how that would be the case if it is completely sealed. But they certainly are in the little pieces of coffee that is in there. So let's keep digging and seeing what else is in there. So there we go. Here's the avocado. No, this is a mango seed. Oh, we got a big fat one right there inside of it. And let's see, maybe there's, no, I don't see any food, just a lot of the bedding and lots of big ones all throughout this feeding zone right here. And I think this might be the tube. Yep, there we go. There's the tube. Lots of worms all around it, and I think I smashed them down, so we're probably not going to find too much inside of it, but let me go ahead and rip it open and see what we find inside there. A few worms, it looks like. So yeah, not too bad. I find that they really like these cardboard tubes. I don't know if they're hiding or if it's just more moist or some other reason. But let's come over here this way and see if we have that apple versus pear that we had in here. I think the pear was on this side and the apple on this side. And hopefully I didn't just move them both, but I don't see a sign of either of them. I was hoping to get in here soon enough to find out if a pear goes before an apple, because I thought the apple would take longer, and you know what? This is something. Actually, it's nothing. It is the skin of something. So that is not it. Maybe right here. Wow, I'm gonna have to redo that experiment sometime, because I think they took care of both the apple and the pear, and it has been 12 days since we were in here, so clearly that is too long for these about 6,000 worms that are in here. Let's come over here and see if we see any kind of banana peel or something else we fed. Right here in this hand is a squash skin that we have, and you can see the stem right there. Now they totally took care of the flesh of it, and right now it's just kind of the outer skin. In fact, I'm able to break it apart a little bit. They don't seem to be interested in it right now. Probably needs to get more broken down by microbes and other bin critters, and maybe even get some more moisture into it before they take care of the rest of it. So I think the feeding zone is empty. I think that means that we can feed them a lot more than we have, which is probably surprising because you see me feed these worms a lot. But that is because I have a lot of worms. I think most people start off with maybe 500 to 1,000 worms. Well, after a couple of years, you're going to have a lot of worms and you're going to be able to feed more and more as you go. So again, here's another, these are just toilet paper rolls that I put in here whole. So let me go ahead and air out the bin, and then we'll set up another feeding zone and give them a pretty big feeding. So this tray has been up here for 27 days, and it spent about 120 days, maybe a little bit more, as an inoculating bin, both as the new inoculating bin and then the old inoculating bin. So you're just seeing tons of castings in here, and the moisture level is just fantastic. So this bin will be up here as the active feeding tray for another about 33 days. It's been in here for 27. And then it's going to go down as the pre-harvest tray. And then 60 days after that, it will get harvested. So things are looking great for our timeline with this tray. Try and break this open real quick. And oh yeah, there we go. Lots of green flesh in there for them. So this is going to be part of their feeding right there. We'll just go ahead and leave that open like that right there. And then we'll add our feeding. Now, something I've noticed is the volume is really high on here, which is great because it's going to continue to sink down as they eat all this carbon, all this shredded cardboard that we have in here, and as they eat our food scraps. So I am happy with the volume, but it's going to be a little tricky trying to get the feeding in here. But let's get started. So here's what we had in mind to feed. I don't know if we'll use all of this because we've got that avocado in there, but let's go ahead and get started. So this pumpkin is going to be a real fast food for them. And we've got a couple pieces here and a little chunk of ice, which will just help to add to the moisture that we have in this bin. Make sure there's no worms right there. Then we'll go in with some baby bok choy. We've got some banana peels right here for them, some celery stalks, and then some good garden scraps. It looks like we've got a little piece of carrots, some broccoli leaves, and strawberries, and then some more good mushy stuff. Now, all of this had been frozen, and then I left it out to thaw. In fact, it's a little bit more thawed than I typically put in my worm bin, so my hands are getting a little bit messy here. I think this right here will be good enough. In fact, the executive producer, who is my lovely wife, told me that this is good enough. So let me just clean my hand up real quick because I'm going to do a little bit of a demonstration from a commenter that asked me how I do my eggshells. So we're going to go ahead and show you that. And I also forgot to put carbon down there. We'll just add this paper towel right there. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of shredded cardboard right there on the top, and then we'll just put our amendments right on top of it. So here's the process. The first thing I do after we have eggs is I'll just come in here and I'll just rinse them gently. I don't put any soap or scrub them, just kind of let water run over them and kind of use my finger like that, and then that's it. Then I turn them over like here, just like that, and then I put them out on our back porch to dry off. Next, I just throw them in this jar right here, and then I will shake them up a little bit like this. And that just helps to make the pieces a little bit smaller in there. And then when I'm ready to make my pulverized eggshells or grit for the worm bin, I'll put them in this Magic Bullet blender cup. And you can see it's a little bit cloudy here. That's because these eggshells are very sharp and they're going to cloud up whatever cup you use. So I suggest you pick a cup and you keep using that. And then this part is the blade part, and then it just goes on to the Magic Bullet blender. So let me get that. And there we go right there. So you just put it in here like this, and I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to speed it up a little bit. But let me show you how I get these eggshells down here into grit. All right, so let's see how we did. Now, obviously, the longer I put it in there, the smaller the pieces are going to be. So I can just check it out, and as I see the little cloud of dust dissipate, it looks like these could go for a little bit longer. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, so I'll check it one more time, and it looks like they're pretty tiny. So the next thing I do is I'll just take them from here, and then I put them in my jar, and then whenever I need them, I put them right into the bin. So that's how I make my eggshell grit. So let's go ahead and put some of that eggshell grit right on top of where we fed right there. And they just use it for digestion. It helps them to break up bigger pieces into smaller pieces. They have a gizzard, sort of like birds. Next, I'm going to go in with just a little bit of coffee. It's just another food source for them, and it's just a good way for me to get rid of my coffee grounds and eventually get them into my garden for nutrients. And then finally, we're just going to add some of my worm chow, which again is nothing special. It's just expired grains from my pantry. Again, just another way of getting more nutrients into my garden and preventing me from throwing them away. So I like to use all kinds of ingredients. Just watch the salt content. In fact, just avoid salt. And I think we're about to retire this glove. So let's just go ahead and bury this feeding up, and I can see worms all throughout here. So this bin is doing really good, and this tray is doing fantastic. I'm really proud of how quickly the worms come up after you put a new tray on and start adding food. It's just a great system. Like I said, I run this differently than the VermiHut directions tell you to, and I found by doing that, I avoid any kind of liquids in the bottom or worms kind of making their way down there. It does still happen occasionally, especially if I go past my 60 days per tray, but it really is a great system. So I think we're good here. We've got a great feeding, so I hope you're all having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing well. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.